right. Now, you would know that I'm not a great fan of the water reforms that have been coming out of central government, and I'm not just talking about from this council, but government, but from the previous one as well. I think in many cases it's a gross overreaction, like most gross overreactions from central government to bad events. And as a consequence, we had three waters, which turned out to be a complete boondoggle and poorly and almost misleadingly, deceptively promoted to New Zealand by the previous government. Well, that's been changed, and it became a real issue at the last election, as we know, 2 years ago. That's been changed by the new government's local water done well framework, which on the face of it, to be perfectly honest with you, doesn't seem all that different. Sure, it's not going to go 50% iwi influence anymore, but it doesn't seem to, in actual fact, give the independence to small councils anymore, and it raises the issue of whether or not, anyhow, small councils should continue to exist after these reforms continue, because, God, what will they do? But water reform is still a live issue for many councils, and one of those for whom it is more live than others. But it just gives you a brilliant example of the kind of issues that are happening at a granular level at local government at the moment is in South Wairarapa. South Wairarapa, I've struggled to work out where that actually is, because I'm thinking, well, it can't be Masterton. But South Wairarapa Mayor, outgoing Mayor Martin Connelly joins us now. Martin, lovely to have you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, great to be here with you, Michael, and lovely to chat to you.
Mate, where is South Wairarapa? I was struggling. What's your major urban area?
Yeah, so there are three small villages. One's called Featherston, one's called Greytown, and the other's called Martinborough. It's a huge area, actually, because it extends from the south coast, Lake Ferry, Cape Palliser, right up to just before Carterton. Then there's a narrow sliver of land, which is the Carterton district, and then you come to Masterton, which is another substantial district with a lot of areas. So there are three territorial local authorities in the Wairarapa, and so it's no particularly large urban area, but there's three rather quaint, cute villages.
What's your population, mate?
About 11,000.
Okay. Well, so you're not the smallest council in New Zealand, but you'd be one of the smallest.
We're not the smallest.
No, yeah. I think it's Mackenzie, actually, isn't it? Or Waimate, one of the two.
I think you're right. Yes, I think it is Mackenzie.
Anyhow, moving on. How long have you been mayor, Martin?
Yep. 3 years, Michael.
Only 3 years, and you're bailing. Why?
Look, I think there's two reasons. The immediate reason is that I have a close family member who's going through cancer treatment at the moment, and that's likely to extend up until probably the end of summer. If you've got a relation with cancer treatment, you'll know that becomes a full-time job. So clearly that's got to be my priority. But actually, I was always too old to be the mayor, Michael. I only did it because I couldn't find somebody else who was younger, who was prepared to give it a go. And I thought there was definitely a need for change. And if nobody else was going to have a crack, then I most definitely was going to have a crack. And obviously the majority of voters recognised that. And so the past 3 years have seen a number of what I would call very extensive changes, but they're mostly changes under the hood, getting the management of the district on an even keel, getting to the point where actually when we said our rates would be X%, they actually were X%, rather than some sort of guesstimate, as had been happening in previous councils. And I mean, even I know it sounds rather ridiculous, but one of the last things the previous council did was to spend $30,000 on a couple of barbecues. Well, honestly, that sort of thing had to stop. And if nobody else wants to stop it, I certainly did.
Okay, all right. Having said that, I don't. Are you younger than 76?
Not much.
Okay,
Not
because
much.
you're not
I'll be
exactly
pushing.
replacing. If you're looking for somebody young, the person who's is apparently going to take over your job is the former member of Parliament, Fran Wild, and I've
Yeah, so
just
I
done
think
a quick calculation. She's 76 years of age.
at least. Yes, I agree with that, and yeah, somebody who struggles to walk up on a stage when she's invited to get up there and talk. Well, there is a much younger alternative who's making a good job of presenting herself as an alternative to Fran Wild. So it's a real contest, and I don't think at this stage it's predictable
It's
who will win.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, I can see where your
Yeah.
emphasis is. Fair enough. Good on you. Martin, the reason I rang you and you asked you to come on the show is because we've been talking a lot about water. In fact, it's almost the primary issue for local government over the last wee while, and the changes that this will affect upon all councils in New Zealand once one presumes it is implemented. Now,
Mm.
you're a small council, as you say. You've got three relatively tiny, well, relatively small urban areas that you've got to deliver water to and also take water from in terms of wastewater and I guess stormwater as well. And you've gone into combination with the other small councils in your area. I think there are five of you from memory to try
Four.
and deliver water services into the future. But the delivery of those water services has been estimated to be as crippling, as almost crippling, as if you were going to look after it yourself. Can you explain to listeners, first of all, why it's crippling either way?
Yes, certainly. Well, can I say firstly, Michael, that I agree 100% with all of the things that you said in your introduction. Possibly the one thing you might have added is that the three waters reforms were actually started by the national government and then picked up by the Labor Party, who then proceeded, as you also said, to make a complete sort of bollocks of it. But the thing I particularly relate to, that not too many people are saying these days, but actually where we've ended up is as the result of four deaths. Now, four deaths are very
Yeah, that's right.
unfortunate, but
Yeah,
not unusual.
yeah, yeah.
There are, there are people dying on the roads every day. There are
Mm,
people doing all sorts of things that lead to their deaths. The question is this sort of expenditure, the best way to save four people's lives? And clearly it's not. It's a hugely kind of exaggerated response. And a lot could have been done at a much lower cost to make sure that incidents like the Havelock North incident don't reoccur. So our problems are that we actually have four water plants. We've also got two much smaller villages, I suppose, called Piranoa and Lake Ferry, and we also provide some of our three water services there. And you'd have to say that if we ever thought for a second that we'd be ending up with the sort of exaggerated responses that we're seeing these days to what those services have to provide, there's no way you would ever go and deliver them to small communities. You just say, stick to your rainwater and your septic tanks. And that would be vastly cheaper
mm.
than what we're about to end up. So when you have three villages, such as we have, you have three wastewater plants. Three wastewater plants, in our case, are all coming up for upgrading at very much the same time. And wastewater plants, even to get a consent to do work on a wastewater plant, costs well over $1 million. You
Why?
just think
Why does
about
it cost
that.
that much?